Okay, well, thank you all for joining today for the session on FLO, which is the female laptop orchestra, which Nela was the founder member and was involved with the BCS Women Committee when she was a student. She was our student rep at the time, but this has grown into a lot bigger than a PhD student project. So I'd like to welcome Nela to explain a lot more about what FLO is. So over to you.
Oh, hi, Andrew, and thank you very much for inviting me. Yes, I miss BCS Women. It was so much fun when I was at the committee. We did so many fantastic things, and as you guys are continue to do so, thank you very much for having me present this female laptop orchestra project, which I've started in 2014. Just to kind of go back, I know you know all of these, but just for the people who don't know me from BCS and BCS Women as well. So that's just like my journey has been really different so far, and I'm constantly sort of trying new things out. And I think according to these pictures, I always change my hair. That also seems to be the theme, from short to long and so on and so forth. So I'm actually Croatian, and I moved to UK to study, and then I kind of stayed here. And I played in my when I was younger, I played with a rock band, and then I kind of started to do sound design and a PhD in human-computer interaction. So I combine all of those sort of things, and I guess FLO is a bit like me having a band which also has music and computer science and technology all rolled into one, if that sort of makes sense. And I will just see. Okay. So while I was before starting FLO, I studied Sonic Arts at Middlesex University, and I did sound design and composition. I'm a musician, so I play lots of different instruments. And I worked in theater and worked with video and film and mobile applications, sound installations, and really all over the place. And then all of that kind of together with the PhD that I'm doing at the moment in human-computer interaction rolled into me sort of doing different kind of things with FLO and without FLO. You can see me in these pictures, like, you know, I am performing with FLO by streaming something using my mobile phone to a conference called Audio Mostly in 2017. Then you can see me in a concert hall operating, like, I don't know, 5 different computers and mixing desks and all sorts of technology with all of my 7 hands that I sometimes have to have. You can also see me here doing a little jam or river kind of a boat jam on the boat with a colleague of mine from the University of Melbourne, where I was recently doing a fellowship also as part of my activities with FLO. And then the last picture, you can see me and my cat in my garden streaming during the pandemic, because we did a concert and everybody was kind of streaming from their own house or garden or close by park. So those are the kind of activities that I did very recently, I suppose, in the last few years. So this FLO, what is this FLO ensemble all about? Since we started, since I founded it in 2014, I guess because I wanted to bring in all the amazing women that were studying with me and doing their PhDs, who are all artists and musicians, as well as engineers and computer scientists and coders, and like to kind of fuse all this music as well as arts and technology together. And I wanted to create an ensemble which incorporated all of this sort of female power and mind and brain and artistic ability and everything sort of thing that goes with it. And we started to kind of, you know, really experiment with loads of different formatting for the ensemble. FLO actually stands for Female Laptop Orchestra. Even though sometimes people say, oh, is this a laptop orchestra? Is it an ensemble? Or what kind of things you're doing? We're not necessarily wanting to pigeonhole ourselves into a certain sort of group. We are just experimenting as far as and wide as we want and as we can. So we just call ourselves like a FLO ensemble or a FLO project, or, you know, a FLO research project, music research project, because we also do research. So to sort of summarize what we are, it's like a recent music project which is connecting female musicians, sound artists, visual artists, composers, dancers, engineers, VR artists. And the main core of our activity is that we are connecting all these people through our collocated and distributed performances, which would entail us performing in a concert space, and then as well as grabbing streams, video and audio from different geographic locations to get everybody who can't be in the space with us into the space with us, remotely or virtually. So how do I move this around? So you can see that we have sort of have a wide community, which doesn't necessarily include only female artists, because we also collaborate. I mean, if you want to be, if you think of yourself as female, if you want to be in a female laptop orchestra, then you are part of FLO. But we also collaborate with male composers and sound artists and visual artists and computer scientists and so on and so forth. So we really like to collaborate across the board and across genders, because we think that's really important, that we kind of spread the word and the mission about women, empowering women to be this kind of a creative technologist, but also collaborating with men, because there's at the moment, there's, as you know, there's a lot more in the laptop orchestra. Even if you look at it, there's loads more male presence than it is female, in technology as well, in music technology too, in music production as well, in music for games as well. There's a really little percentage of women. So by gathering all these amazing women from across the globe, we are just trying to kind of highlight and promote women participation in STEM or STEAM, yeah, so that's what we are trying to do. Okay, let me try to move this slide next. So the main core of our activity is performing, then doing the performances, doing workshops and doing talks. So we like to do workshops because we like to teach other women and girls the skills that we have, and that's kind of one of the core missions of FLO. And because we are able to use all these technologies, and especially during the pandemic now, it's become very important to know how to use the technologies for remote playing, we are able to connect with our female colleagues from across the globe. And so far we had more than 40 performers from more than 20 nationalities play with FLO. And we had 15 performances in 8 different countries. That means like physically in space in 8 different countries. And whilst we were also connecting to more than 20 locations. We do workshops as well in different countries and different languages, because we have so many different sort of languages and nationalities in FLO that we are able to do that. If we need to do something in Spanish, if we need to do something, I ran a workshop in Croatian a year recently, and so we kind of a mix and match, but we try to just include as many of different things into the activities that we do. As I said, we love to teach, and we love to teach women and girls how to make music technology. And so these are just kind of a few pictures. The picture on the left is me teaching a couple of ladies in Zadar in Croatia. So that was a workshop in Croatian about how to do stuff that we do in FLO. This second picture is the picture of us teaching women in Spain before the before the performance that we have at Hangar in Barcelona. And this other pictures you can see, as I just made a note that when I was in Australia doing my fellowship, apologies, I did some workshops with the girls. And so the youngest participant of our workshop there was a 7-year-old girl who came to the workshop with a 10-year-old sister. So here we are. There's a picture showing a little bit of them kind of doing live coding for music, which was kind of a lot of fun. I never thought, actually, previously I've taught live coding at university. I never thought that you can teach as young as 7 how to do this, but apparently you can. They're just so astute and clever, these young ladies. We have awesome FLO supporters, and you can see BCS Women being one of them as well. And without them, without getting equipment, getting support for travel when we have to do conferences and we have to do concerts, none of the FLO activities would be possible, because sometimes there's 10 of us that have to be somewhere and they have to be traveling, and so this is costs a lot of money. And we have to also, when we get to the space, we have to borrow a lot of equipment. So having people to support us in different organizations and universities, as well as manufacturers of equipment like Bitwit Studio and PreSonus and Audio Technica, really helps do our activities and continue to sort of keep on going. If you wanted to see what a performance looks like, this is like a quick demonstration, I suppose, what the FLO performance might look like physically. There's 3 of us in the space at the moment. I am the one which is with the red circle, and I have my colleague Ada, who's the lady with the blonde hair, and Tuna, who is a little bit hidden. We are in space at Barcelona in Hangar, which is an arts production space. And we have our colleagues Ariane, Sonia, Maria, and Magda joining us from Poland, Greece, Australia, and Brazil via streams online. That's why you can see me operating 3 different computers and mixing desks and so on and so forth, because I'm grabbing those streams in. And at the same time, what's happening, we have these visuals, which you can see here, and they're virtual reality visuals that our colleague Andrea, who was at the time in Denmark in her VR lab, she's doing a PhD in virtual reality, we were sending her streams online, like of music, a final mix, and then she was drawing in real time with her VR kit, and then sending those visuals back that we would then project in on the screen to the audience. So quite a complex sort of a setup, and lots of testing and loads of possibilities for things to go wrong, and things do go wrong, and then we troubleshoot as we go along, but it's all good fun. It's all good fun. Another view of the performance when there's lots more of us in space. In this case, there were 7 of us in space with 3 performers streaming, and this was at the Sonic Arts research lab in Belfast, where they have an immersive setup of sound. So they have 45 speakers, and some of them you can't even see because, I don't know if you can see on the picture, there's a grid at the bottom. So the floor it falls through. So you dare not drop like a mobile phone, because it'll fall down and it will, break underneath. And so they have this kind of they have a setup when they have speakers at the bottom and in different layers, I think 4 different layers, for a fully immersive sound. So that means that when we play the concert, the audience is kind of like cocooned in sound from all over the place, wherever they're sitting, which is amazing, absolutely amazing. If we can do these sort of multi-channel concerts all the time, we would love to do it. Not that many spaces have these provisions, but obviously when we feel we're very lucky and grateful for Sonic Arts Research Center to invite us to do this concert. Geographically, this is another picture from that we made when we were doing a concert at the Audio Mostly conference, just to give you an idea of what this might look like geographically if we have, for instance, 3 FLO performers if were in UK, because this Audio Mostly conference was happening in London. So there are 3 of them in the space, and that's, if you call it like, UTC, how we start to count the time. And then we have 4 performers which were in the United States in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Georgia Tech. And then we have a performer in the Northern Ireland. I was in Croatia, Magda was in Poland, Tuna was in Turkey, Maria was in Greece, and then Sonia was in Australia. So for her, it was, I think, 3 o'clock in the morning, I think. So you can sort of see how geographically that can look, and also you can just imagine what can happen, the myriad of sort of issues just by trying to connect with the network across all these different time zones. And we have tried, we've used so many different softwares. We've used the delay in the performance as part of the performance, as the main sort of a point of the performance. We used the delay of the network, because in the beginning, when we were doing this performance, like in 2017, we used different softwares, 3 different kind of softwares, open source. So we had to kind of play with the delay and understand that people are at home if they're not at the university, and so the delay would be different, through the network, and they might have all sorts of kind of issues, but we still managed to do it. So I can show you, or I can actually just play a quick little video that would hopefully work, of what the performance looked like and sounded like, just like a few minutes at Hangar, just to get everybody a little bit of an idea of what that might be like. And you just let me know if you can't hear. Can you hear everything, Andrea?
Yes, can.
Okay, super.
It's quite quiet though. You want to turn your...
I cannot, I mean, this is just coming from YouTube, so this is as much as I can turn it up. It gets a little bit louder. Okay, so I just realized actually I can put it up higher in the YouTube, can't I really? Which is something that we can do. You can still hear me, right?
Yes, we can.
Ah, good. Yes. So
well, maybe you can do it for the next video.
Yes, YouTube has just turned it down. But I just wanted to play you a little bit just so I can actually explain. So you can, I don't know whether you can hear, but when Tuna was here, she picked up her flute and there was, look, you can hear the cello. So cello, Magda was sending the cello sounds from Poland, and then her and Tuna had a little duet, remote sort of a duet. So I was grabbing her stream via this screen using the platform called Hijack, and then mixing everything together. So then the two of them were remotely playing together, whilst obviously the whole mix was being sent out to Andrea, who was producing the visuals. So lots of times, you know, you don't necessarily see people playing the instrument and you hear something, and these are not loops, they're just people who are from some other country globally sending streams in, and then we are playing with them. Once you get your head around it, sometimes you think, oh, is she playing that from the laptop? Or actually, no, it's a live person playing it. Let me play. Okay, I'll play another one, but this one is no, I don't have the video, but I just have the sound for this. And this is another composition when we are collaborated with Ethernet Orchestra, who is who are based also around the world. And at this point in time, we had Roger Mills, who's a founder of Ethernet Orchestra, the man with the trumpet. And Mir, who was playing all sorts of different kinds of like balaban, dozela, and different kind of acoustic instruments, Iranian ones. And then there's me and Donna, who were in space, and we were in Sydney. And this was part of the fellowship that I did at the University of Melbourne in 2019. And then we also had Sonia and Mia and other players joining us remotely. I think this is at, let me just see, this should be on SoundCloud, so now we'll see how well we can hear that. I don't know. That's better, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, I can listen to that all day long. So good. Such fantastic musicians. For anybody that wants to listen to the full tune, everything is on the, if you go to the Female Laptop Orchestra, If you just go to performances, you can find all the performances, whichever ones we have the recordings of, and you can jump on the YouTube or jump on the SoundCloud. So everything is actually here on our website under the performances tab. So yes, so okay, so going back to where we were, what does it sound like? And let me just in case this doesn't start kind of tripping us up. Okay, so the last activity we did was a concert and a performance and the workshop at this event called Revel, which is kind of travels with the sun and over a 24-hour period and tracks the kind of a sunrise and then sunset across the globe. So we did the performance in which we were streaming sounds from the sea organ. This is the sea organ in Zadar, which is my hometown, and this is this kind of like a instrument which is made by by an architect and an organist. And the way it works is the sea pushes into the steps, and the steps at the bottom, at the lower level, they have like massive tubes, and then at the end here, where you can see these openings, they end in a smaller tubes, and there's kind of, they're like a whistle, I suppose, you know, the sea, it's just real like physics. The air pushes, the sea pushes the air through, and then as the air comes to the thinner tube, it creates tones, and it's tuned into a certain tones, and then depending on how the wind blows, the melodies are created. So I was streaming that in real time using my iPad with the Sonobus application, and then Maria and Magda, who plays the cello and Maria plays piano, they were grabbing the streams in Venice and in where was Magda? In Warsaw. And they were basically grabbing the streams and playing along, improvising alongside with the sound organ. And then we streamed all of that onto Locusona sound map. That's why you can see it on the other map. So if people were on the Locusona sound map, they can just click on Mobile Flow and they can hear the performance. So I will just going to play a little bit of that from the page. Okay, so let me just double check. I think this should play now, but let me know. I'll play you a little bit of performance. Just let me know if it's not loud enough. I'm not sure how I can control this. So this is the C organ, the notes that you can hear. And you can hear, because I'm streaming using the, if you listen on the headphones, you will hear the sound in 3D, because I'm using Ambio VR headphones, which are recording 3D sound. Oh, so I guess you can put the sound level up a little bit like that, but not quite as I suspected it will go. But again, this goes on for, I think, 12 or 15 minutes. So then the cello comes in and you can sort of get an idea. But the main thing I wanted to say is that because I am using 3D, like binaural headphones or binaural microphones to record the soundscapes from the C organ, and that's the, the tones that you hear. There's no synthesizer in here. There's just pure cello and piano and the C organ. So if you wear in headphones, any kind of, any headphones, they don't have to be like a big headphones, you will hear actually the sound of the C organ and the C splash in kind of across your head and everywhere around. And then you'll hear the other streams coming in. And every now and again, you will hear on the recordings like a kind of a sound dropout, because obviously I am sending things using my iPad and the mobile router wirelessly on the location of C organ, and I'm sending that to Venice and to Warsaw, and obviously there are dropouts on the other side as well occasionally because of their network, and then we're sending everything to the local Sonos map, so there will probably maybe some dropouts when people are listening to it as well. But as we're doing the performance, we recorded it, so that's why you're able to access the recording. And there's also there's a couple of other recordings that we did as part of the performance, and some of the other recordings that we did that you can also access from our website all the way here. And so you don't have to go to the Revel page, you can just access them through our SoundCloud page. Okay, so where are we going next? How do I get rid of that? Okay, more. So as part of that, as I said, as part of the Revel event, we also, after we did the performance, some half an hour later, we also ran a workshop, because we wanted to teach other people how actually we've put it all together, how we've, what is the technology that we use, what is the platform that we use, how do you actually do it. And usually when we do these workshop and performance events, we teach the participants first how to connect and how to download the software and how to implement and use it in the DAW or as a standalone, and then we do a little performance that it's also recorded. So eventually I will post the little performance of from the workshop on our webpage as well. But if you wanted to see what the workshops and the little performances that we did, short performances that we did with the workshop participants sounded previously, you can go on to FLO website, onto the workshop page, and you can see I did recently something with the Reed School of Music in Edinburgh College of Art with their students, master students who are doing composition and sound design for film. So you can hear what kind of the output of the workshop is, and obviously they're all super talented, so it sounds amazing. And previous to that, I did a workshop at the Atenea, which is a Arts and Technology and Women conference, which runs every year, and also using the similar kind of tool, Sonobus, and I used my platform Bitwig Studio as well. And so you can hear some of these, how that sounded like, and we always have like a little bit of a write-up to explain what happened and who did what and so on and so forth. So just if you're interested to know what that might be like next time you hear that, we, especially if you're a musician and you're kind of also computer scientist or you're a technologist, then you want to join next time we do the workshop, and you hear that we're doing a workshop, just so you know what to expect and what kind of output you get. Okay, so where are we? We're here. So some tools that we use, I mean, obviously we have used so many different tools, and the interesting thing about the female laptop orchestra is that unlike, I would say, traditional laptop orchestras, where maybe it will be done as part of the classroom or as part of the teaching, or everybody would use a certain, like a Max MSP patch, then a composer has developed and then given to everybody, and there's a score that they follow, everybody uses the same. I wanted to, when I started Female Laptop Orchestra, because I'm a musician myself and I play bass and piano and saxophone and tried to learn all sorts of other things. I recently bought the didgeridoo when I was in Australia. I played terribly, but I'm just very enthusiastic to learn how to do it. So eventually I'll be playing that as well, because it just sounds awesome when somebody plays it well. So I just wanted to make this ensemble really open. So the idea is that it's not that I will give you the tools to use. The idea is that you're a musician and technologist, or even if you're not a technologist, you join FLO for a performance or two whenever you can have the time to play with us. and you use whatever tools you usually use, whether it's your instrument, your voice, your Ableton Live setup, or whatever it is. So it's interesting that, like, for instance, recently we started playing with Maria, who's a pianist. Oh, actually, just a second. I think I might need to just plug some electricity in, because it seems like my laptop is going to run out of power. And let's just make sure that doesn't happen straight away. Okay, we're in business. So yes, as I was saying, Maria, who's played with us, she's a pianist, and she hasn't worked previously. She's a pianist, she's also a mathematician and a physicist. So she's got this kind of a scientific brain anyways, but she's not, as a pianist and composer, she's a classically trained. So she hasn't used any technology before to connect to people online, she hasn't used any audio interface, any microphones. So she's really learning a lot of how to use technology to extend the skills that she already has, which are amazing, in composition, and to use that so she can play with us, and she can sort of develop her music technology skills. So it's really interesting how you go through the process. And if you have a project which allows different kinds of artists to come together, and you put the barrier of learning very low, and you help them then overcome or learn about the technology side, then you can involve lots more people in the ensemble. This is what I found, rather than prescribing and saying, okay, you have to know how to use the laptop, you have to know how to use live coding or Ableton Live or something like that if you want to play with us, which then, in my opinion, kind of puts this barrier, because there's, at the moment, and as it's my awareness, and I talk to my colleagues from all universities in UK and abroad, in the music programs, there's still a lot more women. They're playing classical instruments or jazz or anything, musical instruments anyways, and there's a lot more female participation in kind of arts and music, and they don't necessarily think of music technology as being something that's for them. And I'm hoping then, once, at some point in the future, these two silos that we have, the technology, music technology, which is still perceived as something that the guys would do, and the music, where we have lots of female musicians, will kind of come together. So they're learning from the beginning. They're learning both things: how you can play the instruments, and how you can record your instruments, and how you can do everything that the technology allows us to do. So looking forward to that. Okay, so I just wanted to tell you to some of the tools that we use. Which we use lots of open source free tools as well, and tools that are developed by our different colleagues, whether they play in FLO or they're in different kind of research groups around the world. And so, for instance, we use this Locosonos sound map for the performance that we did recently at Revel. We also use this at loads of different previous performances, because we use that, and that's developed by the Locosonos research group in France. And we use that in conjunction with a Live Shout mobile phone application, which is free to download for iPhone and for Android and iPad, which is developed by Francisca Schroeder, who's also played with FLO, and her colleague Pedro Rebello at Sonic Arts Research Center. So, and how we use it, I think in the beginning you saw a picture of me with my mobile phone on the beach. So I was literally streaming the sound using the Live Shout application onto the sound map, where that we can then whoever is grabbing the streams from the sound map can then incorporate those streams into the performance. So we use this a lot when we're grabbing streams from other performers who are unable to be in the space with us. And that's before the pandemic started. We had this collocated and distributed scenario. We also I used a lot as well this playsound.space, which is also a free platform, which is a really easy tool that works on the principles of Web Audio API, and it's free, and you can all you need is a browser. It works easiest in Chrome. And that's developed by Ariane Stolfi, who did it as part of her PhD, and she's a colleague of ours who was in London for a while, and then she's now back in Brazil teaching at university and playing as well, and she uses that in performances. So whenever somebody's developing something in our team, we are very keen to use it. They're obviously keen to use it and try it out, and I'm always keen to use something I don't know how to do, because that's kind of fun for me. We use Soundjack, which is a platform for connecting all these streams together and for actually playing together. So we used it whenever we needed to bring in streams from the distributed performance. So we used it at SARC, we used it at Hangar, I used it when I was in doing my fellowship in Australia, and that's developed by Professor Alexander Carrot, who's also a researcher at university, and it's free to use. It also works in a browser, and it's a brilliant platform. And you can, if you have any kind of issues using it, you can always ping him an email, and he's really cool, and he's helped us whenever we had like a bit of a technological jam, because obviously he developed the tool, so he knows what's at the back end and what needs to be fixed. And so, you know, you can just reach out to him and see if we can sort of help you if you have a particular issue with the setup and you have to do a concert and so on and so forth, because he's just brilliant. Awesome. And recently we have been using Sonobus, which is also a free application, and it's got loads more, I guess, flexibility, because you can use it on the, well, you can use the test like an alpha beta version of and test it on your iPad and on your iPhone. So I use that on the iPad when I was recently streaming sound from the sea organ. It's also a good kind of I suppose, teaching tool, because it's got a really nice interface. You can explain easily how, you know, how people connect together and what the kind of issues might be. And it's got like really good user guide. This is just a screenshot from the website that outlines everything, you know, all the how-to steps. So does actually Soundjack, and Soundjack I think even has some videos. So these two platforms are the ones that we, you know, prefer at the moment. There are different other platforms, and the reason why I usually kind of say like these are the platforms that are free, because, you know, we use loads of different software which costs money, and I prefer to talk to people about things that they can use now for free, without having to pay hundreds of pounds to download something, just to show that you know, the barrier for entry into this kind of area or activities when you want to connect up with your friends online to play some music is really low, or shall I say non-existent. All you need really is an internet and to go and download some of this free software. So that's what I'm really kind of keen, that's the key, you know, thing that I'm, you know, a message that I'm really keen to get across, that it's, you don't have to have hundreds of thousands of pounds. You can just get going, you know, right now. We also recently started using Loopback and Audio Hijack, so that's all. Thank you to BCS Women for sponsoring us with that. And for instance, Loopback is a super application that basically it's kind of does internal routing for your computer. I think at the moment Loopback and Audio Hijack are only on Mac. We all use Macs, so I haven't checked, but I believe that's the case. But it's really cool because, for instance, if you wanted to connect Sonobus as a platform for sending sound out, but you also want to use playsound.space, which works in the browser, as your tool for playing music, you have to somehow connect the two things which are both working in the browser. So that's where a Loopback actually comes in, and it's like really fantastic piece of software, and fantastically kind of connects, and it's really super easy to set up. And then the Audio Hijack, it's also a great application for recording any music and capturing anything that you have on a Mac. So you don't have to have an external audio interface or somewhere else to save it or to record it. You can just record everything that you're grabbing and just reroute it internally and then record it on your Mac. And that's also super useful because saves you thinking that you have to have external equipment, mixing desks and another computer and another audio interface and so on and so forth. So thank you very much, BCS Women, for sponsoring us so we can get a couple of these licenses, and then we can sort of do all this internal routing, which is super important, especially when you're doing music from home, like we're all doing at the moment. So yes, so I think this is all I have for now. I just wanted to, if anybody wants to get in touch with us, you can you can email me. My email is nelabrown@gmail.com. You can also go to Female Laptop Orchestra WordPress website. I think if you just go and Google Female Laptop Orchestra, it'll come up. And you can connect to us via this contact form, which is here at the end. And you just say your name, email, and if you have any website that you like to share with us, you can just pop it in there. Anything about your music background, if you want to play with us, or if you're interested to collaborate, and just like write it all here. And when you submit this will just go to a Female Laptop Orchestra Gmail account, and then we'll come back to you. We'll organize a meeting or see, whether we can collaborate, what we can do together. So yeah, so I wanted to leave you on that, and just to see actually if anybody who's watching this had any questions and wants me to, I don't know, demonstrate any piece of software that I've just kind of took you through. So we have, I believe we have like something like maybe 15-12 minutes. So I just wanted to leave a little bit of time. And if anybody has any other questions that I can kind of help you with and talk to you about, I'll just see. I don't know how I can see if anybody's here.
So thank you very much, Nela. Amazing thing, and I'm really fascinated by the sea organ that you have out in Croatia.
Me
I mean,
too.
that's just an amazing piece of technology and physics. So if anyone has any questions for Nela, if you want to raise your hand, I can enable you to talk. So we have got a few people listening in. Or if you'd rather just type your question.
Or you can type, yeah, because you have the chat, don't you?
I do,
have no idea how to get back to the chat. Like,
they're all very quiet.
Are there any musicians out there that like me to kind of show you quickly how some of these platforms work? Maybe the easiest one, Sonobus, so you can, I don't know, do it with your friends or something like that. If there's there any interest, does anybody want to say yes or no? I don't think I can even see the chat from here. So
no one's saying anything.
No musicians. Nobody wants to have a go at making a little bit of music. Oh, okay. So I don't know. Is there any questions from you, Andrea, at all?
So I would be interested just because I was fascinated by the sea organ. So when was it built, really?
Oh, when was it built? I think it was built around 2000 and maybe 2005. Something like that. Let me just see. Sea organ. I guess I'm still sharing the screen.
Yeah.
So sea organs other. Let's just see some images, because you have it on Wikipedia, obviously, as you have everything else. So you can see the images of the sea organ, and I wonder how. Okay, I think there was always a little picture of how it all works in physics-wise. So was there? There should be a picture. There was a picture here. So basically, so this is the peninsula, just if you, I don't know if you can see, this is the peninsula of the old town of Zadar. This is all the sea and the islands are on the other side, and opposite there's Italy. So this is Adriatic Sea. So the sea organ is actually here. This is like really long. I don't know how many steps does it have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of steps, and this is a promenade. So people usually walk by at sort of in the evening. We have this kind of a promenade scenario, even during the winter, during the summer, at all times. And then they sit at the steps and they watch the sunset, because the sunset's just here. And there, I think you can. Is this? Do they have any pictures of the sunset? This obviously doesn't show us anything that we wanted to know, because I wanted to get into this picture here to show you the physics of it all. Maybe you can see it a bit better now. So this is the level of the sea. So you can see there's a pipe, and then it goes into another pipe and smaller pipe. And then this is ulaznacije means like an entry pipe. And then the redukcija means like a reduction of the pipe. And then there's like how do you call it? There's like a 20% grade of how the pipe goes up. So gradient. As the sea pushes gradient. Thank you, Andrea. So as the sea pushes in, it basically sometimes some of it ends up into this canal, and this is like says resonant natiev, which basically means resonant pipe. And then the resonance from the pipes comes out through these little perforations. It says here perforacija za izlaz zvuka, which means perforation for the exit of the sound. So it comes out here, and you can see these perforations. These are the perforations. I mean, this is just on the other side. Oh, I mean, this is like the same. So these are the perforations in the stone, and that's where the sound comes through. So imagine this like being like a speaker. So it kind of comes through. Yeah. So then what happens is, because in everywhere and Mediterranean and well everywhere in the world, you have the kind of different types of wind. So the wind might, I don't know, it might go from left to right, from right to left, from top to bottom, and depending on the kind of wind that you get and the speed of the sea and the wind and so on and so forth, you get louder sounds, quieter sounds, and just this general composition is really always changing, and it's sort of very meditative to be, you know, as you can see, people are just like lying down and they're listening to it. Because it's this, they're tuned in such meditative sounds that you can just sit there for ever and ever and ever. And there's also another installation which is just on the top of the peninsula, very close to this, which is called the Pozdrav Suncu, or Greetings to the Sun, because the sun sets literally down here into the sea. So in the evening, you're sitting on the sea organ and you're just watching the sunset. So it's just the best thing ever.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks, Nela. And one last question, as no one else seems to have a question, is when is your next concert, so that if people who are listening later on hear it and they want to get involved, when are you sort of planning to do your next ensemble?
Well, at the moment, we don't have any firm plans, because usually, I mean, everything is, the concert is in like physical space concerts have been cancelled for the last year, as you know, due to the pandemic. So we've done a few of the performances which is entirely online, and some workshops that were entirely online. But we are hoping to resume, as soon as we hope that everything can resume and to be back as sort of as normal. We'd like to do some concerts in London. I guess it all depends, you know, because most of the concerts that we've done only one concert in London so far. We've done concerts in Australia, we've done concerts in Spain, and we've done concerts in Prague, and different kind of places. But so sometimes, you know, you can join us if you're at a certain festival or a certain conference. But most of the time, you'll probably be able to maybe join us if we're doing like a workshop online. And at the moment, we don't have anything booked up specifically, because we're just waiting to see how the situation is going to pan out. Whilst we're actually planning to do some experimentation. So Maria, who's currently in Venice, she is traveling back home to Palermo, and she has different instrumentations there that she's going to be incorporating into some of our experimentation and composition. So we're going to work on different compositions with using theremin, acoustic piano, this cube harmonic, which is a research project that she's working on. And so that's something that we're planning to do over the next month while she's back in Palermo. So we're going to combine the soundscapes from Zadar, not necessarily from sea organ, but from different places, and then cello from Warsaw, and then different instrumentations from Palermo. And then we'll actually see you know, when how that progresses, and whether we're going to continue doing this kind of a research, or actually the opportunities to do concerts in spaces will be back on, and then we can sort of you know, let everybody know. At the moment, we don't have any firm plans apart from doing the things that I said.
Okay.
So too bad that we didn't have this before, so you can join us.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your research and what you've actually done with FLO. It's been fascinating, and thank you all for joining this BCS Women's production, and we hope to see you all again at the next concert.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.